what's up? It's Olivia. I'm a recent UC Davis grad, and today I'm going to be talking about every single upper division psych class I took at UC Davis. I'm going to be giving you my overall impressions of the class, about the teacher, the test, if I thought it was hard, the textbooks, all of that stuff, and then I'll also tell you my grade in the class. Quick disclaimer, the last psych class I took at UC Davis was in spring 2017, so obviously things change. If you're seeing this a couple years from now, it's possible the structure of the class has changed. I also want to say this is just my opinion as a student. I'm not meaning to talk bad about any professors or defame them or anything like that. The majority of my professors I really liked, and some of them I just didn't, so I just want to share my opinion. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up, share it with your fellow psych majors, and now let's get started on that stack of binders. I'm going to be talking about the classes in the order that I actually took them. So the first class I took was Psych 100 Cognitive Psychology with Deborah Long. You have to take this class if you go to Davis because it is in the cognitive category, and I believe it's the prereq for every other cognitive class. But in Dr. Long's class, there are 3 midterms and then the optional final, so your grade is based off the highest 3 scores, so you can choose to take the final based on what your final score is. She does offer 5 extra credit points throughout the term, which is amazing, and she also does give you study guides for every exam. Because this class is a lot about memory, attention, and the brain, you're gonna want to take in your lower divisions NPB 10, which is Intro to Physiology. That's gonna help you so much. So here's an example of what the study guide looks like. And on the study guide, whenever there is a question from the books that she wants you to know, she literally says the page number of the books. Now this textbook is so hard to read, it's so dense, so honestly I recommend not reading it, and then just for the exam, read those couple pages that she wants you to know. Because you are learning about different memory models and things that are very complex and confusing, you are gonna need to spend a lot of time on this class. You are gonna need to go to office hours, you are gonna need to go to review sessions, and I really do recommend studying or doing the study guides with a group of people. And here's an example of some of the slides. So she does put up the slides online before class, and you can print them out and take notes during the class time. I 100% highly recommend that. I did get an A in the class, so like I said, it's totally doable. And the last thing to know about Psych 100 is with Dr. Long, her voice is very high. I didn't mind it at all, but I know some people who like switched out of the class because it annoyed them so much. So just keep that in mind. Again, I didn't mind it at all, but some people have an issue with that. The next class is Psych 151, which is Social Psych, and I took it with Dr. Allison Ledgerwood. I loved this class, 100% recommend it. I got an A+ in it, and Dr. Ledgerwood is just a rock star. In this class, you're gonna have 3 midterm exams, and then your final is just a paragraph that you turn in online during finals week. So the 3 exams make up the majority of your grade, and then you also have 4 quizzes and then 2 aha moments. For each class, you just need to read a chapter beforehand, so it's not bad. The topic's really interesting. She explains it in a way that's really easy to understand. And then the exams, if I remember correctly, you do have to be able to apply concepts. But again, social psychology, everything's applied, so it was easy for me to do that anyway. And the quiz is what she'll do is she'll put up a article like this, and then she'll also put up something called a quiz preview. And it's basically asking you things that you're gonna need to know for the quiz. The quiz is online, but it's things like identifying the independent variable, the dependent variable, the operationalized variables versus conceptual. So what I recommend is printing out the article and the quiz preview beforehand. Do it like a week before the quizzes, and then go into your TA's office hours and just make sure you fully understand what variable is which. And that way you're gonna have no problem on the quiz. For the aha moments, this is something that you're gonna do online in a discussion post once in the first 6 weeks, and the second one in the second 5 weeks. And all it is you pick, this is one of them that I did about social tuning. You pick a topic that you've learned about in class, and then you literally apply it to your life and talk about where you've seen it in your life, where it showed up. And before every class, she looks through who has posted. If she likes it, then she'll print it out and tell it to everyone at the beginning of class, and then you get an extra credit point for that. So when I first saw the syllabus on the first day of class, I was really overwhelmed because I felt like there was so much stuff. But once you get into it, it's not bad because again, quiz, you're gonna have that, every other week. You have your exams. First one is like let's see, end of week 3, beginning of week 7, end of week 10. And then your aha moments are just once in the first 5 weeks and once the second 5 weeks. So overall thoughts, highly recommend this class. The next class I took winter quarter of my sophomore year was Psych 168, which is Abnormal Psychology with Eva Schepeler. I highly recommend taking it with Dr. Schepeler. If she's not teaching it, don't take it, wait till she is. Also, if you think you want to go into therapy, all I recommend taking this class because I thought that's what I wanted to do with my life. Then I took this class and realized I could not do it. This class has 3 non-cumulative exams, no final. The 3rd exam is your final, so there's no wiggle room there. There is an extra credit project at the end of the term, and basically you'll read a book from a approved list and then you do a book report on it. It's super easy. You can get up to 10 points of extra credit for that. Now this class is intense. You have to know so much stuff. You basically have to know the entire DSM-5 entry for every single disorder you learn about. For example, I'll show you the outline she gave us for anxiety disorders. Oh, also the book for this class, she'll tell you, there's like a couple different versions of it and she doesn't mind which version you have, but she will tell you about that. But she gives you an outline before every class, so not necessarily slides, but this outline. Highly recommend printing it out and then filling in as you go. So for example, for panic disorder, and basically everything on this you have to know. You have to know all of the DSM-5 criteria. So you have to know all these symptoms, and then I was put also symptoms of a heart attack. So you have to know that. The etymology of panic, you have to know that. And then all this stuff as well. So this is the more of the DSM-5 definition, the prevalence, the gender ratio, onset, so like age of onset, etiology of panic disorders, and then the treatment of panic disorder. And for treatments, you're gonna have to know the different types of therapy. So like this one, cognitive behavioral therapy is used a lot. And then you also have to know the different medications. I just had to go pick up my dog from the groomers, so if lighting is off, that is why. But anyway, this class is a lot of memorization. I did get an A+ in it because of the extra credit, so it's definitely doable. But if therapy and disorders is not something you're interested in at all, then don't take it because it is a lot of work and a lot of memorization. Okay, and then spring of my sophomore year, I took Psych 154, which is the psychology of emotion taught by Dr. Martinez. And I also took Psych 161, psychology of the self, with Cynthia Pickett. So I'm going to talk about Psych 154 first. This class had 3 non-cumulative exams, so again, no optional final, just the 3 non-cumulative exams. Those were the only points in the entire class. He does give you study guides, but it's basically just a list of all of the headlines of every single topic you go over, so it's not narrowed down at all. And while I felt like the material wasn't that hard and I definitely understood all the big picture stuff, there were a lot of questions on the exam that were super like nitpicky, specific, like some random dude's name when we weren't even like focusing on the beginning of like the history and all that stuff. So this class was really difficult for me. Again, I did get an A in it, and I did end up missing 1 class because that was the day I found out I had 50 allergies. But yeah, I feel like all the stuff I had like sort of touched on or at least heard of before, and then this was just more a little bit in depth. So again, it wasn't that the material was difficult at all. It was just that I felt like a lot of the questions were super nitpicky and specific. But again, totally check out My Professor and ask other people how they liked the class, because yeah, I know other people who got like 100% in the class. And so I don't know, maybe they just knew more what to focus on than I did. Next is Psych 161, Psychology of the Self. I took it with Cynthia Pickett, and I hated this class, like dreaded it, hated it. Before I tell you my feelings about it, there were 3 midterms and then an optional cumulative final. So thankfully I just like barely scraped by with an A in this class, so I didn't have to take the final. There is a lot of reading for these exams. There are 2 textbooks that she uses, or maybe it's 1 textbook and then a bunch of articles like on Canvas or something. You are given reading guides, so like these little study guide things that I guess is the information that she wants you to know from the like specific reading. I'm not seeing any other study guides in my notes right now, so as far as like the stuff she talks about in class. But I just remember this class, like it would be the first hour and 40 minutes we would talk about things that weren't too difficult, and then in the last 10 minutes she would try to say this complex thing that was just like, whoa, why are you only spending 10 minutes on this? Why aren't you spending an hour and a half on this, 10 minutes on the easy stuff? I just remember we would like never actually get through all the slides, and then at the beginning of the next class we'd have to go back and do them, which then got us even more behind because again it was like really slow for stuff that was like we've learned this 5,000 times in all of our other psych classes. And then once we got to the new material, it was like super fast. So I personally hated that class. However, one of my friends took Dr. Pickett for social cognition, which I believe is Psych 150. It's either Psych 150 or 152, and she loved Dr. Pickett. Apparently she was so clear, she gave study guides, the exams were like easy, like you didn't have to apply the concepts, but as long as you're paying attention and knows what's going on, like you'll be fine. So she really liked Dr. Pickett, and that's part of why I took this class. So I don't know if it's just because it's psychology of the self, which is like super dense, and like I thought it'd be interesting, but it was boring. So again, those are just my thoughts, but check out Rate My Professor and ask other people who are in Psych 161. Only 4 more classes to talk about. We have now moved on to winter quarter of 2017. So first I'm going to start by talking about Psych 140, which is developmental psychology, which I took with Dr. Oakes. This is another class that I absolutely hated. I'm just not a fan of developmental psychology at all, but you have to take it at Davis. But anyway, this class was 3 midterms and then an optional cumulative final. However, my quarter that I took it, she decided to use Revel, which is this online Pearson product. So the textbook was online, and then we had quizzes basically at the end of every single chapter that we read, and we were like graded on those quizzes, and that was like a big part of our grade. But the thing is, a lot of times the Pearson answers were not correct, which I found that a lot with Pearson. And so we were basically her test dummies, and we were constantly emailing her, hey, this is what the book says, but it's saying it's wrong, and she was constantly having to make adjustments. So I don't know how it is now, but we are the test dummies, and I did not like that. There are clicker questions in class. I believe sometimes they're for participation. I'm looking at the syllabus and I keep seeing things called assignments, and there's literally no other information, so I cannot remember for the life of me what those assignments were, but those are different than the Revel assignments. And then I'm not seeing any study guides in my stuff. I am seeing worksheets from Pearson itself that you can take notes on, like while you're reading the chapters, just different like questions and different vocab that the chapter has. And in this class, she did upload the PowerPoint slides beforehand, so you could print those out and take notes during class. I did get an A in the class, but again, it was painful. The Revel assignments were a pain in the butt. I don't know if she's changed it because we were the first class who had that with her. So yeah, I don't know. I've heard that Sansucci and Lagatuda are much better professors for 140, but if Oakes is the only option, you need to take it, it's fine. Winter quarter 2017, I also took Psych 126, Health Psychology with Dr. Robert Emmons. This class was difficult, but I did learn so much that like I still remember today. So it's a really good class. There are 3 midterms, no final. So the final is the non-cumulative 3rd midterm, like we're all used to at Davis. The tricky thing is his test questions. There's like 75 to 77 test questions, which is a lot when you're used to only doing 45 to maybe 60 test questions. So once you get to 75, it's like really pushing your endurance. There are a couple assigned required readings. So there's one textbook that you're gonna be reading throughout the entire quarter. So it's very basic, like read 1 chapter before every class. And then you do have to read parts of the book, Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers, by that Russian dude from Stanford. And then you also end up reading Dr. Emmons' little book. It's called The Little Book of Gratitude when you do that section later on. So there are 3 required readings. You have to get them. There's no way around it. And then he does have study questions for the reading at least. And on the syllabus, it says that 3/4 of the test questions come from in-class discussion and 1/4 of them come from reading. I don't remember if I thought that was accurate or not, but I think I got an A or an A+ in this class, so again, it's doable. He does upload the slides before class so that you can print them out and take notes on them during class time. And this class is really, really sciencey. Like how I was saying for cognitive psych, it's helpful to have taken NPB 10, Intro to Physiology. Kind of same thing, you are going to learn, if you don't know already, you're going to learn like all the systems, like the nervous systems, the sympathetic nervous systems, and different hormones, and neurotransmitter. 126 technically has a prerequisite, which is 101, which is Intro to Psychobiology or Biopsych or something like that. You don't need that prereq for this class. And I know Dr. Emmons at the time was even trying to get that waived or removed. So if you are only taking 1 class from the biopsych category, I do recommend taking 126. I do have friends who took it with the other professor who's doing it. I think it's Hostener, and they liked her as well, so I don't really think you can go wrong. But with Dr. Emmons' class, like, It is difficult, know that you're gonna be challenged, it is sciencey, and like you have to go to the exam review sessions if you wanna do well. We are down to our last 2 classes, which I took in spring of 2017. The first one is Psych 142, Social and Personality Development. Then the other one is Psych 153, Intro to Psych and Law. When you take your 2 developmental classes, I highly recommend taking them in back-to-back quarters, because by taking 140 in winter and then 142 in spring, I barely had to do any reading because most of it I had just learned and covered. And when I was studying for exams, it was really easy because there was only a little bit of new information and most of it I already knew. And that was really good because that was a really busy quarter for me. I think I took 20 units. So if you can take something that's a little bit easier, that's review, I highly recommend that. But I took this class with Dr. Dunlea, Dr. Ann Dunlea. Because this class does fulfill the writing GE, there are 2 exams and then there is an essay and then also a poster project, and the essay and the poster project were not bad at all. This class, she didn't provide slides, but she did provide lecture outlines before class, so I definitely recommend printing that out. Maybe like enter a couple spaces between each line so you actually have time to write, and then once it comes to exam time, just memorize everything. There were a few quizzes in this class, so what she would do is upload a couple of different articles about a certain topic online, not like research articles, like written like on a magazine, like an online newspaper article. You have to read it and then you'd come to class and you do a quiz on it, and it was always really simple as long as you read it, and that's what she'll say, but still some of it was like kind of specific. So before class, just make sure you review all your notes, review like what you've highlighted. And then she also, if not enough people participate in class and raise their hands, she will give you pop quizzes. And what's really annoying about that is like, I feel like there weren't that many people in the class, like maybe 80 people in this class. And so the same like maybe 15 people were raising their hands, but once they all raised their hands, then she wouldn't let those people answer again, and like I was one of those people. So because no one else in the classroom like raised their hands and participated, even though a bunch of people were, she gave us pop quizzes. This is also a class that's a little rough if you are a conservative, just because even though like social and personality development and development of the sense of self and altruism and things that you basically learn in either 140 or in social psych, you wouldn't think you bring politics into it, but every single class they're bringing politics into it. So if you are conservative, just know you're not the only conservative in the room, even though the couple people raising their hands are gonna be loudmouths about it. But other than that, if you just took 140, then this is a good class to take right afterwards because again, it wasn't that difficult. The last class I'm going to talk about before I do 2 honorable mentions is Psych 153, which is Psychology and the Law, and is taught by Dr. Gail Goodman. Now, Dr. Goodman is an expert in this field. She's been cited by the Supreme Court. She has like a nationally known lab that she runs, and she deals with eyewitness trauma, especially with younger kids. So I was like, oh, my dad's a lawyer and like this woman's amazing, like this class should be fine. No, I wish I did not take this class. First of all, it is only 2 exams, the midterm and the final. And the study guides for these things, I believe she does give you a study guide, but mine, I think I didn't even finish it, but it was 30 pages typed front and back, and I hadn't finished it. It was a lot of information, and on the exam itself were very specific details. Like you didn't just need to know like, okay, this is what the study is about, these were their findings, these were a couple variables. You have to know like, during part B of the study, when they changed the variable to this, what was the exact speed limit that they said XYZ was? And you're like, what? Like it wasn't just the big picture stuff, it was like the individual variables, which when you have, I don't know, 5 to 8 studies per class that you're having to memorize, and then you times that by 10, so you've got like 80 studies that you have to know, like all the little details. Not to mention, this is psych and law, and so it's not enough, like for me, like I just said, my dad's a lawyer, so I like know some of the terminology. You actually at one point have to learn like how a court, like all the different levels of court and the difference between like if it's, you know, like a county, like a DA case versus like a civil court or like criminal court or something. I don't even know, but you have to learn all those different levels and how it gets to the Supreme Court and if it goes to appeals court, and you learn a lot of law terms throughout. When it's just one every now and then, it's fine, but there are some points where it's like here's the law, learn it. And maybe you guys learned this in civics in high school. I personally didn't. Anyway, the reason I would not take this class again is because it was very, very heavy. You're just casually talking about all these things like this, or about like child rape, just very serious and honestly a little bit traumatizing. And after those classes, I'd be biking home. I just felt so down. I felt so depressed. Also, I was freaked out because all that stuff was happening to like young, small females or older females, but they're small. And so it really just freaked me out. Something that is cool about this class though is she does bring in a ton of guest speakers that talk to you about certain topics. So we did have people come from the Innocence Project, which is an organization that when people get put in jail but they didn't actually like commit the crime, like they claim they're innocent, those people actually go in and try to start an investigation and help try to prove their innocence if they actually are and get them exonerated. Between the heavy topics, the very intense exams that talked about the tiniest little details, yet the study guide was like 30 pages front and back long. It's also another class that was very, very rough for conservative to be in because again, somehow Republicans from the past and the present got blamed for literally everything, something every single day. Keep that in mind if you're a happy homework person or you're not a diehard liberal, then you might want to stay clear of that class. So my two honorable mentions are Psych 103A and 103B, which is the statistical analysis of psychological data. I took it with Jonathan Helm. He no longer works at Davis. He works at UC San Diego and also University of San Diego on like a joint statistics PhD program thingy. But if you're going to graduate school, you need to take these classes. Shelly Blazitz is the one who I believe teaches them now, and I've heard really great things about her. But those stats classes are definitely a must take, especially if you want to do graduate school. Okay, so I hope this video helped you if you are looking at taking psych classes. This is basically just my opinion, like a video rate my professor, but it's not anonymous. Again, I finished all my psych classes in spring of 2017, so things change, courses change, coursework and textbooks, and all of that stuff changes. I'm just giving you my thoughts on when I was there, so obviously ask the current students for their opinions before choosing classes. If you thought this video helped, please give it a big thumbs up, share it in the UC Davis freshman class of whatever Facebook group you're in so other people can get the same insight on what professors to take. Anyways, have a wonderful day, keep dreaming out loud, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!